So where did we start from? And again, you don't have to go back 4 or 5 years. We talked about us being a contact centre, but we were still a call centre. It was still all about voice. We couldn't help ourselves. The phone rang and we answered it. And if the emails sat piling up there afterwards, it didn't really matter. We really needed to change the way that our customer was demanding that we change. We still look, an average Hillarys customer is probably late 40s, early 50s, and we didn't recognise how customers moved on. So very much call was where we were still based. We didn't do any outbound. We've never been a company that's done a lot of outbound. We direct market and people phone in. We used a third party to do that because we really didn't want to touch that, and we didn't think we can work out properly how to do outbound, so that's our starting point. And in terms of communication channels, all very much in silos. We used different teams to manage that because that was easy for us to manage, not that we were doing anything that integrated them. And certainly no self-service. In terms of our workforce management tool, we've been using that for a while. It worked, but where it didn't work, started to be quite obvious. It certainly didn't support the sorts of initiatives we were trying to bring forward with our associates. We use skill sets. We use, you won't find a contact centre that's not using skill sets, but just at a very basic level. We hadn't really expanded our use of that. We hadn't even got a CTI. And not that we hadn't wanted to do CTI. I'll explain a bit about the journey about never quite happened, but very backward in terms of our use of that technology integration. And yes, absolutely, we were metric driven. We're a retail business. We have a trading pack each week, which you look at, which is 60 pages, close set with a loads of KPIs. Did we measure the right ones? I don't think so. So 2016 was when we needed to do that, partly driven by outbound. We knew we needed to do something more about the outbound provider we were using wasn't working for us. We decided we could take that on, needed to do some technology to help us there. And then came across IPI, and I'd love to say that I found them and it was all driven by me. Truth was, I knew nothing about it. My contact centre found somebody that could help with outbound, and they come across IPI, and I thought, oh, how could contact centre find anybody decent when it came to technology, except that they'd found a provider with in-house development capability, and not just that, a great set of integration tools, and suddenly the CTI and the Unified Comms, which we'd struggled to do with bigger players, so they suddenly had that capability. So when I talk about IPI, what do I like? There is a real focus on win-win, and you tend not to find that in big organisations. IPI is successful, we're successful. If we're not successful, then neither of us do particularly well. And I found there's a real change there for us. And we've proven it over time. So it's not just a KPI, they're not just KPI driven. Another key thing has been finding a partner that will help you maximise what you've already spent, rather than always wanting you to rip it out and put something else in because that suits them better. We, as a business, I'm sure you as a business, need to leverage what we've already done and to build on that capability and only replace it when it really needs to be replaced, not always looking to rip it out. When I talk about capabilities, that in-house CTI, and you think, okay, I'm sure plenty of you have been doing CTI for some time. What we've been doing, which us is for quite new, is online lead attribution. We've been using 0800 numbers to help us with offline lead attribution for years, but actually how do you work out in an online world where 60% of our leads are coming through the web into our contact centre, how do we work out what makes the call ring? And so for us, we've worked with Infinity as a partner, but all tied together with IPI CTI, which has allowed us now to get an amazing amount of more visibility, marketing-wise, into where those leads are coming from that we have been missing for some time. So what have we done? I've talked through some of this. Obviously, outbound was where we started, initially driving campaigns from previous contacts, but also now looking to use SMS much more than we've used before. We've gone through a full upgrade with them and then a migration to the cloud. We always have been on-premise, so now we've moved half of that in the cloud, and in doing so is helping us with resilience. In terms of integration, I talked about that online lead attribution model and the CTI. It's the most complex project I've delivered in my 30 odd years in IT. You know, there are 17 different systems that we integrate together, and I know we're not using RPA, actually we're just using a bit of CTI. Of course, I an asterisk against omni-channel, because you all understand that's communication channel. Whenever I talk to my retail compatriots, they're always thinking omni-channel in a different sense. So omni-channel for us about using the different communication channels just shows how far we have come from a phone-only approach. So web chat and SMS are all things that we're integrating in, but trying to find the right hit for the right customer. We are using IVR more, but we have traditionally found when we stick IVR on lines, our older customers just hang up. So we've got to find the right balance for different customers. There's different skill sets. And then workforce automation. So we've put in, we've really upgraded that tool, and it's interesting to see for the associates their ability to do things I'm sure they could do in all your contact centres about swapping shifts and booking their own holidays has seen a real impact on our attrition rate. So it's really helping. Where we go then, so we've come for that reduced headcount. We've managed to tunnel through as we've grown as a business, not to keep increasing our contact centre. When I started with the business, you know, every time we grew 10%, we added 10% of audits. Well, not only, you know, our estate, our campus couldn't cope with that sort of growth. We've used technology now to make sure that we are not just growing heads when we're growing our business. Moving to give us better resilience in the cloud. We're still largely on-premise, but when it comes to telephony, we've seen the real benefit of bringing our resilience there. And changing the sort of KPIs we're using to make sure there's better balance of the business. And again, not just using the technologies, but using the expertise from partners to help us change our focus.